Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Talkback Thursday, presented by the Jay and Susie Gouge Performing Arts Center at Auburn University. I'm Amy Miller, Director of Programming and Education here at the Gouge Center, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Maleek Washington, who's company member and artistic associate of Camille A and Dancers. Welcome, Maleek.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure to have you, and we're excited to welcome your company. Next week, Camille A. and Dancers arrives to Auburn, and y'all have a performance next Friday, February 18th at 7:30 p.m. in our Waltos Theater at the Gouge Center. And I want to let you all know who are joining us and who will see this video. Tickets are still available, so head to our website and snag them and come see a phenomenal, it's going to be a phenomenal evening of dance. We're very excited.
It's an amazing show. Such amazing artists. Camille is a mastermind at her craft, and we are always so lucky to be in the room and to be on stage to share her voice with everyone.
Fantastic. Yes, we're thrilled. Maleek, I'm not sure if you know, but this company performance was part of our inaugural season. We opened the Gouge Performing Arts Center in the fall of 2019, and y'all were supposed to be coming spring of 2020. We all know what happened then. And so 2 years later, we're finally welcoming you all, and we're very excited. And you'll be engaging with the community while you're here, and we're thrilled.
That's amazing. And we're so fortunate to organizations like yourself that have stayed true to the agreements that you have made and still trying to find a way for us to come back and perform. Even 2 years later, we're always so acceptable and appreciative of you continuing the arts and sharing with your community our story.
Oh, thank you for that. It's an ecosystem. We all have to lift each other up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thinking about ecosystems, I want our folks that are tuning in today to know a little bit about you and your illustrious, incredible dance career. I'm going to name a few things. No, you've worked with just some phenomenal choreographers and artistic directors in the dance world, right? You've worked with Paul Taylor and Kate Weir, Victor Chiata of Rubber Band, right? Kyle Abraham, and now you're with Camille. As well as you've also dabbled in kind of some celebrity performances, right? You've performed with Fish and Rihanna. And can you share a few highlights that you like to tell folks about?
I would say my first highlight would be dancing for Sia was one of my favorites. It was really quick. I got a call while I was dancing at Sleep No More in New York City. And one of the dancers, they were saying that he was working with Ryan Heffington, and they were looking for, someone with a little bit more edge and flair. And they were working on a piece that was basically about being black and white, but more of a pantomime. And they were like, would you be interested? And they didn't tell me who the artist was. And then when I found out, I was like, oh, Sia. I was like, is that the woman that wear wigs? And she wears her bangs. And they were like, yeah. So we rehearsed and everything. And it was like 2 days. And we were on Good Morning America at like 5 o'clock in the morning, having to dance full out. And that was kind of the impetus for me to start working in commercial work way more often. By that time, I ended up getting an agent that was kind of just using me as not using me, but we were kind of using that project as a buffer to see if I would enjoy working in commercial work. And then lo and behold, after that, the commercial jobs kept coming. So it was really, I want to say, a snowball effect that started with that. And then now is getting to almost an avalanche of work, but I'm super appreciative.
Amazing. So you're juxtaposing your commercial work with your contemporary dance, more staged work. Yeah. I find that you are dabbing in between both of those worlds quite a bit.
I have to juggle both of them because I love them so tremendously. But I'm noticing, especially with someone like Camille, those two worlds start to merge together easily. Being that you can work in commercial and then have someone that is an amazing choreographer in concert dance, and how the concert dance ends up living in the commercial and like operas and so forth. And then when we work in commercial dance, we're taking the things that we're using in stage and really pouring them into the commercial work. So it has more authenticity and feels more real to the viewers that are watching it.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, well, and they're lucky in both of those realms. I'm sure that you are able to utilize skills that you've learned in commercial productions on a proscenium stage and vice versa, maybe. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, I'm going to take it back. Let's go back to just the notion of dance, right? So
Okay.
many different ways that you as an artist probably could, any person could express themselves. Why did you choose dance for your medium?
Oh, it's my happy place. It's my place of solitude. It's my therapy. Before I started going to therapy, it is my connection to my family members. Like, the idea of social dancing, especially as in being a company like Camille, we always thrive off of the idea of social dancing. And it's beautiful that, cookouts, birthday parties, those were the moments where I really found my happiest places because I got to dance with my family. And so now, for a couple of years, working in concert dance, when people make art, it's sometimes we pull out the joy because it doesn't have that community aspect. So being in a company like Camille, it's all community aspect. You'll see when you see the performances, we're talking on stage to one another. We're having actual dialogue through the body and through our voices. And because we're artists, we're not just dancers. So I think that's when I find joy is my happiest place. So yeah, joy is definitely the one thing that brought me to dance and has kept me there for so long.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely want to delve into the social dance, but first, I'm curious. So, as a dancer myself and in the dance world, we know that working it out on that dance floor is an important element, right? Working it out with community members, with your fellow dancers, or even on your own. How have these times where we were on pause quite a bit with social dance, and a lot of social dance spaces, I know also in New York, are not open yet. How has that been? How have you been able to kind of stay in touch with those elements of your dance identity? Have you had little secret pod social dance sessions, or how have you all been surviving through that?
Well, it's really cool because I think during this time, Camille had to shift her gaze into how is she going to uh, develop the idea of community inside of the pandemic. So having something like her extension program, which is Everybody Moves, we were able to switch everything from being in person to being on Zoom, where company members could then teach, master classes or social dance classes. I did one with my mother during the pandemic for Mother's Day. And it was kind of really cool that my mom got to be a part of my world. And then afterwards, she watched herself. This is my mother, of course. She was like, "Oh my God, look at me! I look so cool!" And she sent it to all our family members, and so that they can also take the class with us. And so it was a way to engage our community, but also engage ourselves with our families that are close to us because we're in this place of being in solitude, right? Um, and for me, I was teaching so much because everything transferred over to a screen. So I was able to be in multiple places in one day. So I could teach in Baltimore and then actually teach at Bard University, where I was an adjunct professor for a semester, and then come back home and then teach another class for NYU on Zoom. So it gave me a little bit more flexibility. But if you actually knew me, like, in real life, I get very antsy if I have to stay still for too long, and I like to
Typical
travel.
quality of a dancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as it was open for me to start traveling, I was out of there. I was teaching in Miami and I was teaching in other places. Of course, being socially distanced and being very conscious of COVID, but still wanting to feel the connection of other human beings when it comes to movement.
Fantastic. Movement on a screen is a challenge, though. You're exhibiting quite the silver lining to be able to tap into different places virtually.
Yeah.
Definitely a
I
pro.
will say, I
Yeah.
will say one thing that I loved about teaching on Zoom is what we see right here. I know everyone's name. I know their identity. I know what their pronouns are. Like it gives me more of an insight to the students, and then I also get to call out the students on screen. I'm like, oh my God, you're doing a great job, Amy. It's really nice to see you doing that movement to encourage each and every person on the screen. Sometimes we don't get to do that when we're in a dance studio. No one, and not everyone's wearing a name tag and has their thing over their heads. So I like to acknowledge the dancers while they're on screen, and that's one of the good things that I could pull away from Zoom. So now that I put that in my class to walk around and make sure they acknowledge every student.
Oh, that's fantastic. Encouraging. I was reading about you, your bio, and also around your artistic identity as a teaching artist, right? And your ethos as a teaching artist. Can you speak a little to that? I know that you're interested in the holistic body, right? And there's notions of that, of course, with social dance, and the types of choreographers and artistic directors that you lean to clearly have that sense as well. What is your ethos in terms of teaching?
Um, I like to try to find the freedom of each dancer and their personal journey and movement. Like I have my own, and I've had amazing teachers that gave me so many different styles and ideas that I'm allowed to choose which one I want to use today. On Thursday, February, 10th, and tomorrow it might be another one. So I like to tell my students and people that take my class, like, this is just a library.
Yes.
You're pulling out a different book every single day, and you read a chapter here, you read a chapter there, and then you might switch over to another book. This today it's Cunningham. Tomorrow I might be delving into Alvin Ailey. Next week it's Catherine Dunham. So if I am able to become a student every time I'm a teacher, then you should be a master as well as being a student as well in the class, giving yourself agency to make decisions and choices while also finding that amount of joy inside of it, because that's why we started. You started dance because it brought you joy. So now that you're a professional, you shouldn't release the joy just because you're trying to hold on to this amazing arabesque and everything else. Let it go. What else is in there?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
freedom.
Oh, freedom. Freedom, your individuality within an
Yeah,
ensemble, right? Um,
absolutely.
I know that many African diasporic forms, West African forms, hip hop, it's lifted up. The individual aesthetic of the movement, how it falls on your body or in the space between dancers is celebrated, as well as the ensemble, right? The idea of
Absolutely.
Castina, what is it, Rueda?
Hmm.
Castina Rueda, and the idea of the individual conversation within the ensemble work, right? And a lot of that is seen within Camille's work, within the Camille
Yes.
Brown dancers' work. Um,
Yes. Yes.
can you speak? I know that we're coming up on seeing Trilogy. Can you tell a little bit about Trilogy and maybe how that, for you as an individual dancer, it's been fruitful for you to work within that company process?
Uh, it's amazing because I've actually seen Mr. Tolerance before I even joined the company. I saw it as a spectator, and I was able to see Black Girl Linguistic Play as a spectator as well, and to watch something like Tolerance that depicts and tells stories of the minstrelsy and the storytelling of putting on the mask, of taking off the thug, but then putting on the video vixen, and then all the tropes that are out there, but then all the tropes or the digging that you have to do to unravel what those tropes are. And then to see something like Black Girl Linguistic Play, where you're celebrating the woman and the girl that matures into a woman and what that story is. And then now to be a part of something, and the creation of Ink has been such a full circle moment, because Ink is about community. It's about what I know about myself and where I can go, and not by what somebody else is telling me, like the first part of the trilogy, which is tolerance, and the society telling us, oh, this is the only things you can play. But now at the end, these are all the things that I can become and that I have choices to become, and to then now say, this is my space. This is my world. How am I going to create it with my community behind me, supporting me? Why is that not a beautiful trilogy? How is that not something that we can look at and it will be identified 10 years past and 10 years forward and present? Like, these are stories that can transfer over through time. And this is the power of Camille A. Brown in her mind, that she has this almost a time machine when she's creating work, that you can go forward or backward, or you can sit in the present, and all of these feelings are still immensely felt, especially in the Black body, but as in others as well, because you're connecting to emotions that you feel, like happiness, grief, joy, community. You see all of these things, and then you realize you're not that far away from the same experience, because you're a human being.
Hmm. Beautifully said, Malik. Yeah. So those of you who are joining us, we're talking about Trilogy, which is a three-part work that Camille created. I'm not sure how many years. It was quite
Uh,
the.
so 2012 to almost 10 years now, the
Yeah.
beginning of
Yeah.
Mr. Tolerance was created in 2012. And I believe the first performance was at the kitchen. And then now we're working to the premiere of Ink was in 2017 or 18 at the Kennedy Center. And now still being performed in 2022. We have a 10-year span of these works, and it's kind of amazing to see. And I'm just super proud of her because I've known her since I was in high school. She came and choreographed on my senior year, and it's been really amazing to now join the company and follow someone's career that I've idolized because of her hard work and tenacity. Seeing her in Ron Brown as a kid, my mom took me to her shows. My mom is a big fan of Camille A. Brown. So when I was offered the job, my mother automatically told me if I did not take this job, it's the stupidest thing that I've ever done in my life. So, you got to listen to mom too. So,
Yes, so good, so good. That's a very special story. That's not very common that you've been able to track Camille's career alongside your own. Yeah, I've been able to watch.
What's crazy though? It's the entire company has done that.
Okay.
Everyone in the company has known Camille for more than 5 years and could track her whole career. Like that's again why everyone feels like family, as we're all connected by her, and then we all get connected as well. So what you see on stage is not far from what happens like outside of the company. We're all family. We all text each other and talk to each other. We go to each other's weddings and birthday parties. Like it is such a big community inside the nucleus of Camille Brown and dancers.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I know that she and the company and Pam Green, the agent behind you all, and I know it's transitioning to Selby Artists, all these folks that are just lifting up this incredible vision and mind, like you said. But it does take a village to put together these productions. And you had talked about you came on board with her company in time to help be part of the creation process of Ink, which for our audience is the third of the trilogy pieces, right? And Ink has a particular connection, as you said, to the community and the social dance and drumming and music, right? Can you speak to what it was like creating Ink?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. So in the beginning of creating Ink was at Jacob's Pillow. And I can now tell this story because it was documented in Dance Magazine. While Camille was creating Ink, she was actually in a hospital because her appendix has ruptured for the second time and she was getting a surgery. And Camille is such a person of strength that she doesn't want to feel like she lets us down. So while she was in her hospital bed, she was watching videos of us in rehearsal at Jacob's Pillow and giving us notes and still creating.
It's passion.
Right. So passion. And of course, I think I got it down packed. Oh my God, I've been doing this for a week. When she sees it, she's going to love it. I do my first step and she goes, no. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, what is it? And I was like, it's the step. She's like, no, no, no. What is the step? Break it down for me. Answer the questions: who, what, when, why, and where. I then realized I was no longer a dancer. I was being asked to look at this like a script. How are you saying these words? How is each word connecting to one another? And that's when I started to realize the magic of being in the room with this person, but also the magic that I had in my head and my body and my creativity and my ideas. So it transformed how we worked on Ink for another year and a half. And the process was something so magical because I ended up having 3 different partners through the whole process. But in those partnerships, I also learned how to communicate better with women because it was this idea of creating balance and not just any women, Black women. And what is the idea of showing a Black woman, love and affection, but also showing them that we're like this, not one over the other, but how do we meet each other and move through space together? Working on something like Turf, which is a maturation from boyhood to manhood, I got to meet one of my best friends, which is Timothy Edwards, who is my partner in this whole piece. And we literally became Turf. We've created our own Turf throughout time. And it's just really amazing to see how Camille does that in space. And I was really honored to be a part of something that finished the trilogy and something that I've seen being created since 2011, 2012, and watching it in the Joyce and watching the progression and then being a part of the final progression was kind of like I've never been awarded anything But in my head, this was the greatest award ever, because someone like this gave me so many moments in my life of affirmations and uh, seeing that it can be done. And then now to be a part of someone else watching me and like, oh, I want to do exactly what you did and do it with people like that you're doing it with, kind of puts the bow on everything and really sets it as an amazing present. So I stay present inside of it.
Mm, really special. Yeah, what a gift. And what a gift for you to be able to work with Camille and work with other artists around you that your goal, right, is to uplift each other. We all do better when we all do better, right? Whether it's on a dance floor
Absolutely.
or in any space.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And then the trickle effect, right? The trickle effect years down the road when maybe you're not in the company any longer and you still can feel and even see this identity that you helped bring to that piece or to that company during
Absolutely.
the time. Yeah.
And I say that to so many people when they're watching the piece. I was like, this is not just me. This is the person that came before me and the person that came before them. There's a lineage when you're a part of this company and you do not get erased. So it's really amazing to know that past members watch and they're like, yo, man, that's fire. Because I remember when it looked like this. And you can connect the dots of where it started and where it ended up.
So good. So good. We have a question from our audience. Our colleague Joyce Milare just said, it's a pleasure hearing your story. Thanks for taking the time. Do you have a special routine or ritual before performing that helps you center yourself and prepare to deliver such powerful performances?
Uh, Especially when we do the repertory show. Thank you so much, Joyce, for your question. Um, I actually just listen to the band play
Uh-huh.
and warm up. I think it's one of my favorite things to do, just because, for such a long period of time, we didn't have live music. And that was something that I took for granted going on tour, was being able to listen to a pianist, people play on drums, djembe, a violin, like for 3 days straight before I performed and while I was on stage. So to get back into the routine of things, I wouldn't. Sometimes I come in with headphones, and once Quentin starts playing on the piano, I pause this and then I just listen and I move with him, so that I get in tune with his melodies and his chords as he's playing before we even get on stage. That kind of centers me into the space. It really brings me to a leveled playing field, so that I become a human and not trying to be too ethereal when entering the stage. Like I'm a god, but more like I'm here. You see me eye to eye on the same level, and it's been really helpful over the years.
Mm. And the sound and the rhythm, right? Really kind of help ground, right? The
Yeah.
movement and dance probably started out of one vibration out together at the same time, right? So
Vibrations.
yeah, right. A vibration is movement and sound at the same time.
Hmm.
So it goes back to our core, music of creation, right? Music and body dancing or movement together. And I know
Yes,
that's a passion
absolutely.
for any social dancer, and it's a passion for anyone clearly in Camille's company in terms of being on, and other companies that you've worked with, right? Being on a stage with musicians that are just as powerful
Yes,
a piece of the conversation and the performance. Can you speak to
yes.
working with musicians?
Wow, our musicians are some of the most talented people I've ever seen.
Mm,
I went to an arts high school. I've been in the arts since I was young. My family also plays instruments, but what Camille pulls towards her, and a lot of our musicians that we have been playing with are like covers to other musicians that we've had that also have other jobs and they have
mhm,
families. So, but even our covers don't feel like covers. They feel like people that we've been working with from the beginning, because they add in their own style. But Quentin Gray,
mhm,
Naimba, Mike, um, uh, Juliet, Monique, uh, Boom Boom, like Ali, like all of our musicians have been such tremendous, um, and I don't even want to say additions to the piece, because they don't add; they are the piece. The dancers have to meet the musicians have to meet the dancers. We can't do one without the other. And even in creating in the process, there's no thing like we make choreography and then the music comes after. Like while she's making the choreography, the music is being designed at the exact same time. So how we're speaking on stage, the music has to either match it or go against it, or do we quiet down and fade out and go up? I've never seen someone make a dance piece that looks like an album. And this was the first time I was a part of something, and it looked like she was writing bars or sheet music, but it
Mhm.
was just physically writing the sheet music. As I
Mhm.
see them go up, I want y'all to go down. And I was just like,
Yeah.
and it blew my mind. So now to see her working in theater, like Broadway shows and operas, it makes complete sense because the storyline is what she's really encompassing and directing, and not
Mhm.
just steps.
Mhm. A very visual memory and very visual way of working it out. That's a
Yeah,
talent. That's an extreme talent.
yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. There are a lot of different types of choreographers and minds around how choreography works. And sometimes it's more communal in the creation process. It's
Mhm.
fascinating when you come across a human that has that much skill in laying it out as it's happening too, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Um, in terms of the other Broadway, I mean, there's a lot of excitement for Camille and with the company right now too. I'm getting a message from my colleague. Sounds good. And so in terms of Broadway and in terms of that presence, it's definitely lifting Camille and then, future the company into an even a bit more of a commercial space, but also a bit more of just a different type of audience, which I think only helps to broaden the message and the impact of the company. Have you been
Absolutely.
involved much with the conversations around Broadway, or you've been tapping in and hearing how things are going?
My family now knows that anything that they see Camille A. Brown connected to, they're like, "Oh, Maleek was in this."
Uh-huh.
Like any show,
Oh,
anything, TV show, it does not matter. They're like, "Oh, Maleek is going to be in that," and that's kind of how it goes down. I've been grateful enough that Camille, instead of having like auditions for TV shows that she's going to choreograph for, will be in a residency. She was like, "All right, I'm just going to teach it to y'all, and y'all will be in the job." So from Amazon's Harlem
mhm,
to Jesus Christ Superstar
mhm,
to Fire Shut Up in My Bones,
mhm,
where she let me be her assistant of choreography.
mhm.
And also, I had to dance in it. So I ended up becoming like dance captain as well,
Woo.
and running rehearsals. And then to being the associate choreographer for the restaging of Porgy and Bess, but was the assistant choreographer when I first set it with her in 2018,
Mhm,
to now working with her as her associate for Colored Girls coming back to Broadway as the revival. Very honored that she even lets me sit next to her
mhm,
and to listen and to take notes on how she creates, because
mhm.
it's been very helpful for my own choreographic, career, being as present as possible, but then finding my own voice inside of it. Because sometimes, if you've worked with amazing voices, their voices still linger in your head when you're creating.
Uh-huh.
So trying to find out where's the meld between their voices, my voice, and the other seven voices that go on in my head that are, talking.
Yeah, yeah. Which is similar to how you just described it with movement, right? There are a lot of different styles in your bones, on your body, but then also in our mind, like thinking through where do we want to put our mark or when do we want to listen and when do we want to then share um,
Yeah.
our perspective. That's exciting. And you were part of Fire Shut Up in My Bones. Can you tell our audience a bit about what that is, what experience that was? It's just
So if you don't
profound.
know, uh, the Metropolitan Opera has never had a Black composer in the history of 139 years. So this piece, Fire Shut Up in My Bones, is a piece based on Charles M. Blow's book. And it tells a story about a young man that is sexually molested by his older cousin, and then tries to navigate the world through this lens of uh, trying to figure out who he is in the world. Going to college, trying to become more of a man, he then joins a fraternity, becoming a Greek. Um, and he just finds destiny and love, but there's also torment and grief. And Camille was asked to be the choreographer and the co-director of this. So it was a really amazing opportunity because she's the first Black director. And then this is her second time choreographing on a show that is now the first Black composed piece as well. So it was really magnificent to be a part of history, but it's also magnificent to do it with 12 of my, brothers artists that I love so much, and that some of them, this is my first time being able to dance with them on stage ever. And so it's been really cool to have that experience. And then Terrence Blanchard is one of the sweetest men I've ever met in my entire life. He offers so much to the space, and because of his name, you would think that there would be an air around him. And the only air that I saw was him breathing and him giving air to other people in space to uplift them. And Jim, our director, other co-director, was such a light. And this is my second time working with him. And even my mother met him, and he was like, "Oh my God, let me give you a hug because your son is magnificent." And just that space was golden. I don't think I've been on a project like that, but hopefully I work on more like them. And I think that's starting to become more normal. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm always grateful for her for that. But I will tell you this, if you have not seen it, go to I think it's coming in the movie theaters this weekend on the 14th. They sometimes do recaps of shows, and it'll be coming out either the 12th or the 14th on Fando, something like that. So it'll be in movie theaters. Check it out if you can. If they have it in Georgia, please go check it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. I know that Margaret Selby and Todd Burnset over at Selby Artists also let us know that I think it's going to be on maybe PBS on April 1st.
Yes.
So
PBS, and we'll also be going to Chicago. They'll be doing it at Chicago Lyric in March. So you can also try to see it live if you got time.
Take a trip up to Chicago. Awesome. Well, everyone should take a trip to that are in this area or close to the Gouge Center a week and a day. Next Friday, February 17th. 18th, February 18th, 7:30 performance. There's still tickets available. Head to our website. Information is just below our photos here. I want to thank our sponsors for helping with this engagement. We really greatly appreciate your support. It's the Elizabeth Grant family, Auburn Electrical, and Linda and John Mengelt. Thank you so much. And we're ready. We're ready for the trilogy excerpts. We're so excited to have you all in town. For our audience, they're coming a couple days in advance. They're going to be working with some students on campus while they're here.
Nice.
So we're thrilled for that. Great gift. And we actually have a video of your performance, and not of you performing, that we want to share with our audience, just to get a little sense of Maleek and his movement that we've been chatting about before we leave. So Maleek, thank you for taking the time. I know you're headed to teach dance right after this in New York City, right? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate it.
We'll see you in a week. Take care.